Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Factorio Bob's Angels. Welcome to episode 19. So the premise for this episode is to get ready for the next episode. It's going to be another biter slayer. So we're going to be pushing out up to the north, take a quick look at the big red ominous cloud, and then we take a gander at our goal for next episode. It's going to be these sapphirite patches up here. So I'm going to fill in these sort of bottlenecks between lakes for a permanent wall there. And then in the east, we'll have to put something temporary in for when we do the next push out that way, which maybe episode 30, I don't know, might have to be sooner than that, because that is the direction that they are most annoying. So we start off by setting up the piercing ammo production. It's probably the third time we've set up this area, but hopefully this is the last and final time. We get the resources brought in by belt. There's no point getting the bots to do it. But we do get them to collect the final product so that it can be delivered anywhere that's needed, which will most likely be the form of a military train that'll head around the defences, making sure everything's rearmed, maybe put logistics networks along them, and it can feed in any spare turrets, bots, repair packs, that sort of thing. So defences will always be able to repair themselves. So we also get turret production set up. We're going to be using Mark III turrets and Mark II sniper turrets, which will need invar plates, which is what we'll be mostly doing this episode. We'll also be getting the factory ready so that I can leave it and run off, and hopefully nothing will go wrong. So we get this laid out for the bots to produce, but we will need to get the resources ready for filling this in. But yeah, it's going to be the largest amount of biter slaying and the most antagonizing of the evolution scale. But we did have a problem with the recording. Past me will explain his failures in a minute. It's not my fault. But we get the turrets laid out. And while we're doing this, there is a bit of a problem. So yeah, past me can explain his failures. Hey guys, so bit of a derpy move on my part, recording me's part. I was just finishing off the logistics area and I had to stop recording as there was someone at the door. I came back and played for about 10 minutes, not realising I hadn't hit record, and because of my stupid self extending the autosave time so it doesn't interrupt recordings, yeah, I've only just noticed. But we'll just quickly go through in normal time what I did, because it's quite nice being able to do commentary while I'm playing. You know, I can stop and look at stuff. So we're up to 34 robots now. They have produced a number of robots quite quickly. I have been manually feeding those chests just to get it up to speed, but we're not far off, you know, getting to the point where they can stop producing them for a little bit until they become in demand again. So yeah, obviously I'll have done a bit of commentary on the start. We've set up the ammunition and the turrets and everything. All I did in between was just grab a load more resources to do invar plates, because I think that's what we're doing now. I want sniper turret Mark II and normal turret Mark III. So what I've done is I've run 2 belts down the subbus. I've run a belt for the nickel ore. I've run a temporary belt here just to take it of the old sorting system, which is good to get it out of there, because there's quite a lot in there. There's 7.9k. Slurry is obviously the biggest problem, which I'm avoiding. And I've run that down the subbus. I've also run the iron, which started about here. So we're going to run down here and we're going to do the nickel processing for invar plates, because I want some invar plates before we go to war, which could potentially mean better stuff for the fight, which is going to be next episode. Episode 20 is we're going to war. So that's enough of me talking while we're playing. Sorry about that little bit of recording we've missed out, but we're ready with our belts here. So you haven't really missed much, just me running some belts down. And yeah, I did do a bit of clearing here. That's about when I realised, and a little bit of landfill. But hopefully we've got everything we need here to do the next stage processing. So yeah, we'll probably speed it up now and get on with that lot. What a derp, eh, folks? Just can't get the stuff these days. Anyway, yeah, a bit of a foolish move, but oh well, it's not going to be too much bother. Gave him a chance to say his piece and have a little playtime. But yeah, so I steal a couple of the brass metal mixing furnaces because I don't have enough stone brick on me to produce an even number, and it has to be even, otherwise he will be shot. But yeah, we get the invar. We're working backwards on this one. Sometimes I just like to go through these recipes backwards. It's a bit easier in my head. The ratios are nowhere near spot on. Rather than sit there and work it out, I just lay it out in a way that I can come back later and add to whichever row is out of balance. But I know invar plates do take a while, so yeah, we'll find out which bit's worse. I put in some plastic underground pipes because they are longer, and quite rightly someone commented that I should really be using something other than iron because of the ridiculous shortage, and it made a lot of sense. To be honest, it's just a bit of a force of habit. I do like to use plastic over anything else. I don't know if that's good or bad. The fluid mechanics in this game are always highly debated, and I never know what to agree on. But solely for the extra underground distance, I go for plastic at the moment. I could use brass. That has even longer underground distance, I believe, or at least the same as plastic, but at least it has more throughput. So I don't like how I've laid out the system because I have to bring the ore down over that water, and I want to fill in the least amount of it as possible. When we fully hit the lake further south, we'll have to full on landfill it. But this little bit here where we kind of jump over, I want to try and avoid filling in as much of it as I can and use underground belts. And then it'll look kind of cool with a bit of water on it, you know, something a bit different. Let's not fill in the whole world. So we get the nickel plate. Is it nickel plate? Yeah, nickel bars. They look more like bars than plates. But we get that production going, which is quite a good thing to have because it does produce some sulfuric acid. We've gone for the method that doesn't need the extra stage to then turn it into the full-on sulfuric acid. I can't remember the name of that intermediary stage. We also get some oxygen production set up. Because this method produces such little oxygen, I do build quite a few, and we may need more. I can't remember what's going to be the bottleneck there. I head up for something. Oh, it's for stone. I finally have to give in and get some more stone. One issue which we do look at in a little bit in the episode is the crushed stone is really building up on the what's it called? The Javolite processing. And another thing we go and point out in a minute, I think. Yeah, we go and point it out now. My past self points it out by stopping there for a little while. Is Thundergun recommended putting a loader in there, which made a lot of sense because of the amount of throughput that's going to be needed there. So the loader does work a lot better. It still needs upgrading to red, really, but yeah, once we actually get a proper throughput of sodium chloride, I'll upgrade it. So we need some water purification for the what's it for? The oxygen. Yeah, that's it. It's for the oxygen. So we get that put in off this little lake here. We put it parallel to the brass because that's never really going to need to be expanded that much. I don't think it's ever really used in huge quantities. It'll always be keeping up with the higher level of multi-purpose electric furnaces that'll upgrade those metal mixing. So we have invar plate being produced, and this can be dragged down to the bus, down to the bit where it connects into the logistics system, so that the bots don't have to carry it too far, and it's available on the bus as well. I mean, we could get them to carry it all the way, but at this stage, the bots can carry very little and need to recharge quite regularly. Plus, it would take a lot of resources to build enough roboports. And I don't really want to build too many roboports until we get to like Mark 3, Mark 4, because they cover a lot further range, and the more I put out, the more I'm going to have to replace. So we don't want to go too heavy on bots at the moment. It's just nice to have them to be able to build themselves at an efficient rate. What's the word for that? Is it like sentient or something? Self-replicating? I don't know. They're going to turn into the Matrix Sentinel soon, hopefully. We get this brought down, and we have a chest added in for the logistics system. I am probably going to replace these for loaders later on when they're a bit more abundant. Yeah, I do have quite a few on me at the moment, so that's a bit of a stupid comment, really. I've just looked, and there's 50 on my inventory, and another pile in there. I think there's another 33 in my inventory. So I may well just do that next episode and stick loaders in, because I've got enough of them. I work out we're not getting electric engines because I never actually upgraded the requester provider chest down here. Requester provider, that didn't sound quite right. But yeah, I got the inserter arms the wrong sort of way around. But we put in a active provider to begin with. And then I think, no, that's a bit silly. Let's go for a passive provider. And we also put the inserters the correct way around. So yeah, I put a circuit condition in to begin with to say if there's this many in the logistics network, etc., etc. But then I realised it's a bit pointless when they're only ever going to be bringing it over here. So we come up and grab our first load of ammunition. We want to keep picking that up. I don't want to make the buffer too big, but I am going to need a lot of ammo next episode. So I do keep picking it up to build up a nice stockpile. But we're using way more resources than we're refining at the moment. So at the moment we've got a nice throughput of steel, but soon it's going to be quite a trickle. So next episode, 100% of resources are going to be devoted solely to ammo and turret production. I'll even find a way to switch off part production so that 100% is going to ammunition and turrets. But at the moment we're just going to stockpile it. So I come in and just check on what's going on with robot production because we haven't produced any more yet. And there's just various things that are just taking too long for the robots to bring over. But as we get more of them, they will be able to produce themselves fairly quickly. By the end of this episode, I think we do end up with quite a few, which is nice. But yeah, as I say, next episode we'll cut off their production for time being, just so that we have 100% going into the war, because wars are expensive. So one of the things we need to do this episode is make sure these attacks occurring down here aren't going to cause us to have to come back from the slaying unnecessarily. We're going to have to come back for ammunition a couple of times, but you know, as much as we can do to make sure nothing goes wrong while we're away. But by shutting down the majority of the factory, we will reduce the pollution cloud. But we are currently low on power. We're using about 130% of what we're producing. So yeah, we're in the yellow. But that's something after next episode I'll be more comfortable to sort out. We may be moving the power a little bit to north of that lake to make room for the station. I haven't decided what I'm doing with the station. Half of me wants to do an Omni belt unloading station, but there's too many variables where it will jam up, or I'll have to manually stop things. Part of me wants to do 6 unloading stations, 1 for each ore. So I don't know. If there's a circuit condition I can put in to say, hey, don't go to the depot if there's this much ore in the logistics system, and then get a reading of the amount of ore being stored, I don't know. But I can just imagine an Omni belt unloading station too many ways for it to get jammed up, and I have to keep manually keeping an eye on it. So we come over to the Javolite because this is going to jam up soon while we're away, and that'll halt ammunition production, one of which is crushed stone is nearly full in the chest. So I come up and put in a temporary stone processing area to at least compress it down to a smaller amount and keep this running a bit longer. The geodes aren't so bad, but again in here we're nearly full of uranite and slag. It is uranite, sounds a bit weird. So we get the slag taken off to a temporary chest. That is something we're going to have to deal with very soon, is a slag processing area, because we have huge amounts of it from the old area, and when we get the other 5 ore sorting areas set up, we're going to have a stupid amount of slag. So I really need to get that converted. It's probably wise to get that converted into some primarily iron ore, because that's what we need the most. But it is going to use a lot of sulfuric acid, so we're going to have to bring that over in some form. But that's the slag production area is going to be east of the ore sorting, so the other side of these ore belts, bringing the ore down. I come and grab some wool. We're going to need a lot of wool next episode. I just want to get as ready as possible so that next episode we literally start straight away with fighter slaying. So I have a look in the research for any last few things that I could use to help me next episode. I don't really find anything. I try and look for armor. I have since realized there is one that I can get. I'm just not sure where it is. And it may need military science, which I should have set up ages ago. I've got all the stuff to do it. I just haven't done it yet. So I'm probably going to crudely do that completely with bots, which I don't completely agree with. I should really do it off the bus. Maybe I'll do it off the bus on the other side of the automated area, because the bus will continue as normal like this. It won't all be done by bots. Now, don't worry, it's not just going to become a bot factory. I cut off the science because it's just going to be too costly doing sniper turret damage upgrade 4. Although, I don't know, it might be handy. It's going to put a delay on keeping up with ammunition for next episode. So I head round and put in some more iron ore on the ferric chloride solution, partly to keep that going and partly to just get some more sulfur dioxide. And we come over and just check that the turrets are producing, because it's going to take a while for us to get enough for next episode. I'll probably leave about like sort of 10 minutes of buffering between episodes just to let everything build up. But as you can see there, the copper plates are actually starting to run out, which I don't notice yet. I've only just noticed it now because I kind of know what happens. But yeah, you can see it there. The belt goes thin and then runs out completely. But we get an attack in a really bizarre place. I have no idea how they got to this point. There are turrets around, but there are gaps. They could have used their rampant AI to sneak their way around, and clearly they've made it into the center. And that is exactly the kind of thing we want to avoid next episode. So we will need to place some more turrets to deal with that. But I come down and fix the sulfuric acid production. I don't know how much we lost, because we did lose our storage tanks there. Hopefully we didn't lose any, but I guess I'll never really know. Unless I go back and look at some footage and we see what it was roughly. But yeah, doesn't matter really too much, because we're not getting much crude oil coming through anyway. I also realized the circuit condition I put on these pumps was completely wrong. They were both set to 0. So I come in and adjust those. I set it from anything to everything, because that whole thing just confuses me. I think it's anything reaches a value, and everything is everything combined reaching a certain value. I don't know. I will maybe learn one day. And we also work out where the water is broken yet again. We're going to have to bring in some more water feeds soon, because this whole area's still being fed off one water pump. That's going to need fixing later on when the throughput is severely diminished. So we come up and check the turret production again. I think I help it along slightly. I try and work out why brass gear wheels aren't being passed over. It's all correct. While I'm looking at it, they do start bringing it over. I don't actually do anything to prompt it, so not quite sure what happens there. So I come over and put in some random turrets. Not masses, but I think this is roughly where they snuck through. But I'll have to double check between episodes quite quickly, because I just don't want anything to go wrong while I'm up fighting. And reducing the pollution output at the base will be one way to safeguard it. So I might go and switch off the mining. I don't know, we've got like 100,000 coal, something like 70,000 Chivolite, so we're not doing badly on stockpiled resources. At the start of the episode, I did put a Mark II radar at the end of the bus, and we just took a quick look there to see if it scanned anything interesting. I did forget to mention that at the start of the episode, but that was there just to keep an eye on where the worst attacks are coming from. I then come up to sort out the copper issue, because I've now realised there's no copper anywhere but in the Chivolite area. And that's going to be another thing that needs addressing soon, just to add to the list, is that we're now running low on copper. So I come and move the iron belt to where it should be, because it was never actually put in the right place. It was actually taking up where the copper should go. So we changed these outputs a little bit. We have copper put on the lowest one, because that will go onto the closest belt. Then we have iron Then we have alumina or bauxite and the zinc output on the same belt, because those really should be coming down on the same belt. They don't need their own individual belts. And we'll race down in a second to place filter inserters in time. So I connect everything up and race down before the ores reach their destinations, which isn't too difficult because yellow belts aren't exactly that fast. So copper gets moved over to the copper input and iron back onto there. So those will get moved over, so they're nice straight lines and right angles down to the bottom. But I'll do that later on when we get rid of all that slag. So I come down, cut off the lines so that we don't make a mess, and I put in the filter inserters that will pick off their relevant ore off the line. Now this area does have a tendency to break a little bit, but what I do in a second is I put an overflow on the end. So anything that gets past all the filters will get put into either a passive or active provider so that it never gets full, and then we'll put in small requester chests that will feed back into the large chests, so that once any surplus that's worked its way into the logistics system can get fed back into their relevant warehouses. In my last playthrough, I did have 2 warehouse per ore, and I would like to have done that here, but I don't really have the space to shoehorn it in, although I have just had an idea to maybe put an overflow on the opposite side of the belt and have it passed back over. We have got the space to do that with loaders, but right now it's not really relevant. So once we'd sorted out the masses of the ores, that little bit works quite well. And I keep an eye on it just to make sure there's enough. I'll probably move it up to 6 filter inserters later on when there's more ore coming down, but right now it doesn't really matter. And I come round and just take a look at the vast amount of slag we've got, and another gander at that big red cloud. So yeah, I come and check. Yeah, it's 94k coal. And I didn't exactly see how much Javolite there was, but I think it's about 70k. But we need to do something with this uranite. I've never done it before. There's going to be a hell of a lot of it from our processing. But yeah, I believe that's used for the nuclear power, funnily enough. But we come and have a look and just make sure we're using more crushed stone than we're producing, so that's not going to jam anytime soon. We've got plenty of crushed Javolite. We also have a look at the geodes, which we've got about half a warehouse of. I do stop recording there, but I did want to show you this last thing. It is all we have time for today, but look, we've got 140 robots flying around. They've produced quite a few during this episode. But yeah, do please come and join me in the next episode for Bob's Angel of Death. But yeah, I do hope you have enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.